Hello. This episode is sponsored by my own community, the WB Space. If you are interested in meeting other like minded starting bootstrappers that will support you as you build your products, make sure to check it out. The links will be in the description. Now, enjoy the episode. Hello, and welcome to another episode of The Wannabe Entrepreneur, the podcast about what's really like to bootstrap a company. And today we have here another interview. I have here with me Julien Nahum. Hey, Julien, everything good with you?
Hey, Chago. Everything's good. Thanks. Thanks a lot for having me.
Yeah, I'm super excited about this conversation because Julien is one of those indie makers that is actually living the dream. He, after a little bit more than a year, is making an ARR. I normally don't even say A, I always say M. So this is so big already that you need to say ARR of 160.5K. I almost rounded the 0.5, which it's a lot.
Yeah, thanks
So
for doing that.
it's so exciting, so amazing. And I was speaking with Yus from the community. He told me, yeah, you need to interview Julien because he has such a great journey. Super nice guy. So yeah, he is the creator of a no-code tool that works with Notion. It's called NotionForms. Helps you to basically use forms in Notion, which is something that apparently is really required because people really want it. And used to work at Amazon before as a developer. And yeah, we'll be basically speaking about your journey, Julien. And I have a lot of questions, and I'm sure we'll learn a lot. So let's kick things off with a quick introduction from your side. Who is Julien? Yeah, tell us about you.
I've always been interested, in like entrepreneurship, always trying to do small businesses on the side. And when I was like 14, I was, jailbreaking iPhones in my school and that kind of things. Even iPod Touch, that kind of things. Then I really decided to go into software engineering. I did a bachelor and a master of software engineering in London. And while I was studying, I was, always trying to start some side projects. I did few. Most of them like literally failed without any users, but one of them worked pretty well. It was a marketplace for like secondhand train tickets. It taught me a lot. It was, one of my first projects with actual customers that actually earned me some money as well. So that was really cool. Then I joined Amazon. I was still doing, some projects on the side. It was like Amazon was a really great experience. I learned a lot. But I knew that I wanted to go back to like indie hacking and entrepreneurship in general. So I stayed there for a bit less than 2 years. And then I started, like to go full time on side projects. I didn't have like a precise side project at the time when I left, but I just started playing around, doing a bit of open source work, and ultimately I ended up starting NotionForms.
Right. So let's talk about Amazon, because as an indie hacker yourself, I can imagine that it must be both exciting to be in such a well-known company, but as well, probably there are some limitations that made you want to leave the corporate dream, let's say. So, yeah, do you remember like when you got the job at Amazon? Were you happy? Were you excited? Do you remember those feelings?
No, I was definitely excited. Like when you're a software engineer, it's always exciting to be joining one of these companies.
Yeah.
I had tried, to join them for internships before. Like I never managed to, pass the interviews and stuff. So when I got in, I was, proud because like I spent a lot of time improving at both on the technical side, but also on the non-technical side. So it was kind of like personal achievements. And I was excited just to see how it works internally, and it's always fun to see the backside of a product that you
Yeah.
use.
Yeah.
So that was like so then I joined, and it was like super exciting. I joined a new team, so I was like the second team member with a very senior guy that's like super smart, that taught
Hmm.
me a lot. And for a year it was basically, I was like, I had direction, but I was basically doing whatever I wanted. And then because I was like one of the uh, oldest people in the team, not older in age, but in like in tenancy. How do you
Yeah.
say tenancy,
Tenure.
whatever.
Yeah.
And that was like super fun, and we are working on a really cool project involving a lot of people. That was burning so much money. So I learned so much about AWS. At some point, I was like literally burning $1 million per month of AWS
Wow.
resources. So that
But
was like,
what was the area? Was it like
so I don't know if you're
storage?
familiar with the AWS product, but
Mm-hmm.
one of the most popular one is S3. So
Yeah.
it's like it's storage, and our team was trying to improve performances of S3.
Oh,
But
okay.
it's such a used product that there are so many engineers working on it, so many teams across the world, and it's such a distributed system that it's hard just to get a whole picture of the whole system and
Yeah,
understand
yeah.
like the whole request path. So finding
Interesting.
the areas where there are some issues causing latencies is really a tricky challenge that was like
Yeah,
super
yeah.
fun. But
It's
then
really
after
a backend task. It's pure backend. There's no UIs.
it's
Like what
yeah,
language do
so
you work?
so at first I did like there were many parts. The hardest part at first was trying to build the data set. So ultimately it's kind of data science. As long as you have some data, it's just try to do some correlations and find where the errors are. But the thing is, we didn't have like a proper data set because each individual part is producing its own logs, and then you do have some metrics, but like it's quite hard to explain. But
Mm.
basically, just getting clean data set to run some analysis on was super hard, and that was like the first part of the job I did.
So you needed the data set to understand where the latency was?
So basically, we were trying to like the first thing to do, to understand why some because like S3 is kind of a black box for users. You just do requests and then you have
Yeah,
like responses, and then you don't know what happens in the meantime. So
correct.
what I had to do first was to understand, okay, the request goes in this component A and then component B, and then C takes too much time, and then it goes back to customer. And the first part was, trying to reconstruct this whole request path among the different components to be able to identify the components or
Right,
the teams
right.
that had like, some issues causing latencies. So the first
Yeah.
part was doing that, and then once we had the data set, we set up, like we created some monitoring tools and some um, yeah, so basically some kind of data analysis to find
Yeah.
where the issues were and
Wow.
how to address them.
That's a very technical job.
Yeah, that was like super
That's
technical
very
but super
far.
exciting.
That's the other end of being an entrepreneur. Like you almost don't
Yeah,
face the clients. I mean, they will notice somehow that you're doing these improvements, but probably it wouldn't make such a big difference for them
but
to wait 1 more second or so.
but at the same time, it was kind of entrepreneur related because you had to discuss with so many engineers, and they were kind of your customers because in a way you were kind of evaluating their work, putting some kind of pressure on them because you were
Hmm.
saying, okay, like you're causing this. So it had this part where we had a lot of freedom in what we were doing, and we were talking with many different people from people that had like that were pretty high in the AWS
Right,
organization
right,
to
right,
report to
right.
them and that kind of thing. But yeah, it's very far from India hacking and running a SaaS.
Do you feel that you learn? Well, you definitely learn important things from working at Amazon, but what are the most important lessons you took from this amazing experience working in such a big tech company that then you applied uh, in your indie career?
uh, First, I think the obvious thing is that I learned so much about AWS and how powerful it is.
Yeah.
When you spend like almost 2 years going through the docs, at some points it gets easier to approach new AWS services. Um, because in the end, it's all pretty similar, even though it sounds, a bit terrifying to new people. It's
Yeah.
really cool and it's really powerful. So I learned a lot with that, and now everything I run is in AWS, mostly
Oh, okay.
serverless, which is something that's really cool and convenient.
Like
But then I think,
Lambda functions?
yeah, Lambda functions. Everything like I have now is in Lambda functions. Took me a bit to get there, but now I'm glad it's there and it can
I do the
scale.
same, but with Google. I
Yeah,
everything runs with functions.
yeah, exactly. It's the
Yeah.
same.
Okay. Okay.
I never tried like I think I never created a GCP account. I literally don't even know what the interface looks like.
You really love
I've
Amazon. You're
been
like, yeah, I
yeah I've
know.
been
Fuck
brainwashed.
Google. I'm an
No,
Amazon
it's just
guy.
that like why should I like I know Amazon already. Like I'm not gonna waste time learning
Yeah,
about the
yeah, of
same.
course. I totally get it. I work with both actually because I used to work as a DevOps. So I
Mm,
worked with Amazon, like with EKS, and moving everything. I moved like a whole infrastructure of the startup to Kubernetes in Amazon, and I also
that's
worked
cool.
with Google, and now in my own projects because I guess Lambda is also free. Do you also have a free tier for Lambda?
Yeah, yeah, you do have a feature,
Okay, okay. So I'm still
but
in the free tier of Google as well. So
that's
yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
I'm not
that's
anymore,
amazing.
unfortunately, but but that's good.
But you have enough money to
Yeah,
pay
yeah,
for
yeah,
it.
exactly. Like I can definitely afford the
Yeah.
price now. That's
So
good.
you said that you really understand AWS, and of course, it's really important now for you for your project. Is there any other lesson that you
Yeah, I
using?
think I really learned as well. Like internally, the bar for every product, for everything you deliver, even for internal products, is pretty high. You need to have you have some like hard requirements that you need to meet before you ship
Mm-hmm.
everything, anything.
Mm-hmm.
So that includes, like obviously clean code, but also a lot of monitoring. You have to go through like security checks, even like pen testing, that kind of things. So I really learned a lot about how to make projects, more professional. Obviously, as I started to do in the hacking projects and stuff like this, I had to drop some of this because
That's what I was about
it
to
works for
ask.
them,
Yeah,
and yeah, like that doesn't apply to every
yeah,
business, and you shouldn't spend half of a year, testing your code before like shipping. That's definitely something I
yeah,
don't recommend, but it's good to know it. Like to have this in mind. I think it really helps you shipping better software ultimately.
yeah. What is your code standards nowadays? Do like you try to make beautiful code? Are your functions like a total mess? Like what is the
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like obviously I try to do that, and I think even like when you're a software engineer, there is always a certain pleasure in writing some good code that you're happy to read
yeah,
afterwards. I always try to do like that as well, like as much as I can. But obviously, sometimes I'm like everyone else, I just ship shit code and then fix it later, and I think that's fine as well.
my code is
But one of the
terrible.
things I do is I do invest quite a bit of time, like not so much, but just a bit of time, setting up some monitoring. Like I always set up monitoring for databases, making sure, CPU is okay, like space is okay, and something for lambdas, like I don't want to have too many failures. I keep track of every exceptions, that kind of things.
Yeah, yeah. You need to get that CloudWatch going, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah, sometimes I'm writing my functions and it's like, oh my god, this is so bad. And then I was like, yeah, maybe one day I'll fix it if this ever makes money. I think it's also like you are in the different stage, I would say. You worked there for about 2 years, I guess, and then I read your blog post. By the way, I recommend everyone to go and check it out because it's very detailed of all of your journey. So I know that you were about to change teams in AWS and Amazon. That your girlfriend was moving to Paris, and you would also like to move to Paris. Was those the main reasons, the main factors that made you change, or were you already like feeling, man, I'm tired of working for others. I want to start building something my own. Or was it a combination of these factors?
No, I definitely wanted to do something on my own, and I knew it since the beginning. I had no plans to do a long career there. I was commuting at the time, like right, actually it was during COVID, but before COVID, I was commuting maybe like 2 hours and a half a day, and
Mm-hmm.
I was spending all of these 2 hours, working on other projects, even during the weekends or at night. So I was always doing it, and I knew that I wanted to go back to full time
Mm-hmm.
on these things. But then, as you said, everything aligned. My girlfriend, the COVID, and
Yeah,
the fact that I was moved to a team I didn't enjoy as much as before. So I just decided,
yeah,
now is the right time
yeah.
to dive.
But let's talk about innovation in these big companies, in companies like Amazon. Is it even possible to like retain people like you, people that are indie hackers? Is it possible for these companies to retain you and like create something around you that would make you happy working in a big corporate?
I think there are some teams where it's possible, and the team where I was originally was one of these teams because it was exciting, a lot of freedom, a lot of budget as well. So
Mm-hmm.
that was fun. I don't know how long I would have stayed there if everything stayed the same, but definitely longer.
Okay.
But at the same time, in bigger organization like this, there are often, like reorganization, teams are moved, project changes, priorities change. So sometimes you spend a year on something and then it's not the priority anymore.
Yeah.
So I don't know if, like, if you really have like an entrepreneurship spirit and that's really what you want to do, I don't know if it would match on the long term.
Mm-hmm.
You can get lucky, but
Yeah.
then at some point, probably.
I'm always trying to think about it, like if it's possible for companies to give, maybe as you said, like to give freedom. You need to give freedom to your employees, and
Yeah.
hopefully you'll stay. But yeah, when you want to be an entrepreneur, you have your you want to be your own boss. Like even if you are doing something completely amazing, it's not your own, right? So I guess that's also one of the reasons,
Yeah.
and it's really hard to make that happen with companies. I guess companies could just say, yeah, you build this, and then you have like 50% stake. They could become your partners. Maybe this could be an option.
And also now they're so big that they have SLAs and stuff like this that makes them kind of slow to move. They have huge customers that are paying a lot, so they cannot afford to have things that don't work. So everything you ship, you need to like
Yeah.
spend at least two times the two, like, I don't know, let's say you spend 2 months building a product, then you need six
Yeah.
months at least before you can actually ship it to customers, because it needs to go through so many internal
6 months.
procedures.
That's crazy. That's a
I don't know.
lot.
It's just like a rough estimate, but
Ah,
yeah,
okay.
like maybe like you need to set up like a very clean and solid
Yeah.
infrastructure, and then you need to go through a security test, and then like
Mhm.
that kind of things.
I remember having so many fights with QA because I worked at Trivago,
Yeah,
and I was like, "Yeah, let's do this. Let's ship it. Come on, this is not that important." And like they would always get super mad at me, like, "No, you need to QA everything." And I was like, "Oh my god," it was really really frustrated. So really really cool. You decided it was the perfect timing for you to go back to indie hacking. And you had sold a company before, right? The marketplace, the train tickets marketplace.
yeah.
For how much did you sell it?
Sold, I sold it, like the value of the company was a bit uh lower than it was around 200K basically
Two
euros,
hundred k.
and
Wow,
I
that's
had a third of
amazing.
it, so I made like a bit more than 50
Okay,
basically.
very very good, very very good
Yeah, yeah,
amount.
yeah. No, honestly, I
Uh,
was happy to get rid
yeah,
of it. There was, a lot of issues with it. COVID came, so business was down.
right.
So it was,
Ah,
the
so
right time for me
you're
to move
still
on.
running it while working at Amazon.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. And that one, as you describe in your blog post, you have the chicken and the egg problem, right? Like I think all indie makers, what we want to do is a B2C. And we all think about these platforms. How amazing would be to create the new Facebook, the new, marketplace. But for there you need, as you said, you need users to exchange the tickets. And if you don't have users to exchange the tickets, no one will like try to sell the tickets there. It's just a waste of time. How did you solve that problem?
We got lucky because we did a kind of a dirty tweak. It's not dirty, but basically we at
I'm
first it was
excited
just
for
me
this.
and my best friend, and then we teamed up with this third guy
Mhm.
that basically did the exact same website but 10 years before, and his website was
Mm.
down. And he had a Facebook group for people buying and selling train tickets that was like just living on itself. It had like 50K members, something like this. It was super active. So at some point we just said, okay, like now we branded the group to the website, and now we just said, now if you want to publish a ticket, just publish it on the website, and then you can share the link on Facebook. We had the nice preview where you could see the tickets details and stuff like this.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
we basically hijacked the traffic from Facebook groups to the
Right.
main website. That's how we did it. And then we had the SEO that helped a bit as well at some point, word of mouth, but it really started from the Facebook group.
It's very smart. It's very smart. So the community was already there, right? The
Exactly.
chicken and the egg problem was already solved,
Yeah, exactly.
and you
We had
just
both
have to,
buyers and
yeah,
sellers. We just
yeah,
kind of took them and moved them to our website. That's
yeah.
that's what we did.
Was it very smooth? Or did it take a while to do this move?
I think it was pretty smooth. Like people were at first, there were some people that weren't happy with that, but then people saw that it was like way more convenient because there were scammers in these groups, like saying,
Yeah,
okay, I'm like selling fake tickets,
yeah.
that kind of things. But with us, we're only paying the seller after the trip, so we're able to refund if it was a fake tickets,
Mm.
that kind of thing. So I think in the end, the buyers and the sellers really did see the value
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
in what we're offering. So it went pretty well.
yeah. What are the challenges in the end? You said it was a nightmare.
So it's a train ticket marketplace. So then COVID came.
Yeah.
So like no more tickets. Like no one is traveling anymore.
Ah,
So like
right, right,
business
right,
went
right.
from something to zero basically.
Yeah.
And then at the same times we had some complaints like from legal threats from train company
Really?
that were basically not allowing resale of tickets, and we're kind of helping with that. So it was the time where I was happy to just get out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. Wow, interesting. So you that's a very good experience, I guess, as well as an entrepreneur to do such a marketplace.
Yeah.
You return to Paris, and then you start having ideas and starting. Okay, I need to build something. I need to start making money. You had a few savings as well, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I had some savings from the sale and even from my job, but
mhm,
I didn't wait. So basically, I sold the marketplace as I was still working at Amazon,
mhm.
and then in between uh, this time and the time I moved to Paris, I created two other projects that didn't work much. There was a website, that I was kind of crawling the different real estate listing in London to find flats.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't work at all. Like we tried to do the same thing, with Facebook groups, but it just didn't work. Like, we thought we had like the secret weapon, but it just didn't
Yeah,
work. So we didn't get
yeah.
any users. And then we
Interesting.
created a
Why do you
platform.
think that didn't work? Well, it's the same exact potion,
I
right?
think I think so. Basically, the reason we did this is because I was like I was planning to move back to Paris, and
Mm-hmm.
my best friend and flatmate needed to find a new flat.
Mm.
And in Paris, we knew that there was this app doing it, and it was working super well. So we thought, we need to do the same thing in London. But then I think now I realize that the issue is that in London it's super easy to get a flat. If you move to London in 1 week, you can find a flat and just
Really?
move in. Yeah, yeah, it's super easy, super smooth, expensive but smooth.
Yeah.
Well, in Paris, it's super hard to find a flat. You have a lot of background checks. You need to have a certain salary.
Yeah,
You need
yeah,
to have
yeah, yeah.
so I think there is more need in Paris for this kind of tool than there is in London, and that's
Yeah.
something we didn't realize as we created the product.
You need to bring this tool to Germany. The really like finding a flat in Germany. I lived in Germany for 6 years. It's the hardest thing you can do, especially as an expat. It's so hard that I mean maybe that
Maybe it exists now.
I mean, there's a lot of like tools to find flats, but this one you said it scrapes a bunch of groups, is it?
Exactly, exactly. All the groups and all the websites, and then you have like alerts you receive. Like you set up your criterias, and
Yeah,
then
yeah, yeah.
you have alerts in your mailbox.
Well, maybe. Like to be honest, it's a huge problem. Like it's funny because as you're describing, like in Portugal or at least Lisbon, yeah, it's expensive, but it's kind of easy to find a flat. But yeah, in Germany it's like expensive and it's super hard, like extremely hard. And we spend our times like going through Facebook groups, going through like the websites, going through all of that, and yeah, maybe it's a good idea.
Yeah, yeah,
I love the fact that you and your flatmate had a problem, a challenge, and you're like, instead of helping you finding a flat, let me help you like build a platform to do that,
yeah,
and
yeah,
let's
yeah.
make some money with it. It's
He
really the
was
mindset,
he was
right?
building it with me. Like all of the projects I did, basically all the projects I did except for NotionForms, like I did it with him.
I bet
So
he's
that's fun.
now feeling like, what the fuck? Why didn't you do Notion Forms with me?
No, no, I think that he's fine. Like now
Yeah,
we're working on new projects together,
it's
so
so
it's fine.
cool. Okay,
Yeah.
so tell me about the Notion Forms. How this idea came to be?
So yeah, it was at the time, I had left my job and I moved to Paris, so I was basically on my own without anything particular to do.
Yeah.
I did, a bit of freelancing, but I'll always make sure, to pick only like short-term contract, maybe like 1 week, 2 weeks, so that, I don't have to show up to. Basically, I didn't want this guy's job where I have to go every day and that kind of things.
Yeah, yeah,
So I was, trying everything, like every idea I had, I was trying it. There were quite a few that I didn't even ship that I, just starting building, but then realized I wasn't enjoying it or didn't think it could be business, so I just didn't do it.
Tell
And
me
that's
about this process. Tell me, sorry to interrupt, but tell me about this process of like trying out an idea. What is trying out an idea for you?
honestly, I don't think there is like a detailed process. It's really like gut feeling. So usually, I have an idea, I think about it, I just take some notes for it. And if I like it, if I think a lot about it, then I'll start trying to find where I could find some customers, maybe like communities, Reddit,
Right.
Facebook groups. So I try
Mm-hmm.
to evaluate like not the
Mm-hmm.
demand exactly, but if I can, I always try to ask question on the Facebook group, that kind of things. And
Without writing any line of code, you're still researching.
Yeah, but very passively, like on my phone, while I'm
Yeah.
traveling, that kind of thing. Not something serious at all.
So give me an example of something that failed that you. So what was this idea that you
One
decided
of
not
the
to
idea I
commit?
had, like I didn't even, there are some tweets I saw recently on my profile about it, but I never like shipped it. It was basically, I wanted to build not black magic, something not as good as black magic, something way less cooler, but something in the same vibe where it would
Yeah.
basically help you get started on Twitter. It would tell you, okay, every day you'd have, some tasks to accomplish with like some rewards, like XP. And it would say, for instance, you should follow that guy, and then you should interact with that guy because you
Yeah.
interacted a few times with him before,
Yeah.
but not today, that kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
So some kind of a personal assistant for
Yeah.
Twitter.
That's a unique idea.
Yeah, I
Everyone wants
think
to do
like,
it. It's literally everyone I've met. There's
yeah,
one in every five indie hackers wants to do that. It's funny.
yeah, exactly. And then, I realized that first of all, doing something that would really work and help you is hard. I didn't want to do like a tweet hunter, that white tweet for you, that kind of things.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah. Yeah.
just a tool to help you focus on the right thing. But then, like I don't know. I didn't get
You
the
didn't feel it.
motivation.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just didn't feel it exactly.
So
So
in this
I
case, it
just
was not necessarily because of the demand; it was just because of yourself. You thought like, yeah, I don't want to build this.
yeah, like I actually started to build it. I started,
Mm.
the project. I had, I had few features working, and then I didn't feel it.
Yeah.
Maybe I should have done it because at the time Black Magic was still there weren't that many features. It was mostly changing your cover, like
Yeah.
your Twitter
Yeah.
profile cover, or had you could
Mm.
add this circle around
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
profile pictures. It was still simple. It wasn't as good as it is today.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Twitter Hunter existed, but basically there weren't that many Twitter tools. So I wasn't like demotivated by
Yeah.
that. It was just I didn't feel it.
By the way, I interviewed these two creators, Tony Dean and
Yeah.
Thibaut. So if people want to learn more about those tools, I think Black Magic it's crazy how he was able to grow it. To be honest, I think it's really such a marketing problem, and he did amazingly. So, but how was your research to understand if there was demand? Like, would you just go on Twitter and ask people? Would you like
It's the
try
thing is that,
to?
at the time I had like 50 Twitter followers, so
Yeah,
I was like the customer for it.
yeah,
And then I was trying to look for tools and stuff. I don't know, like for this particular project, I don't think I did like that much research
right.
apart from
Mm-hmm.
experiencing the need.
It's your own need. But let's take another one. And sorry to be so pushy, but I really want to understand because this is clearly work. So do you go on Reddit? Like let's say you find a community around, I don't know, train tickets or something. Do you go on Reddit and do you like ask, hey, how do you find train tickets? How do you sell secondhand train tickets? Do you like do this kind of questions to see how people are solving the problem, or what questions do you
I
do?
like this one of the things I really like, now you probably understood that, are Facebook groups. Like Facebook groups, I think they're amazing and they're really great at
Yeah.
helping you evaluate the demand for something.
Okay.
There are Facebook
Interesting.
groups for everything, like literally from dog walking to trading Legos or like everything you can think of. There is a Facebook group for it. So I really like Facebook groups. But for instance, for Notion Forms, like I was excited by the fact that they launched the API because I
Mm-hmm.
was a Notion user and a software engineer. Then I thought, like I saw this form feature for Airtable, and I thought it would be cool to have it in Notion.
Mm-hmm.
And then I looked at other tools that exist already for Notion. There was this other tool called Chili Pepper, which is pretty cool, but existed basically before the official API, so it was kind of hacky. You
Right.
had to find the API key, like basically some geek things. So I thought there was a need because Chili Pepper was doing pretty well. It did like, I think, first like product of the day on product hunt. And also, like many people were just using Airtable form feature, so I thought, like Notion users probably want to do the same thing, right?
Mm-hmm. How do you know that people are using the form features?
Of Airtable, because that's funny. So I was doing an internship like literally probably 7 years ago in Paris in a company
Right.
that were like using it so much for everything. Basically, all of their business was relying on Airtable and the form feature. And
Mm-hmm.
then later on, as years went by, I saw many, like I did receive a lot of Airtable forms. Sometimes for job applications, sometimes for like contact form, that kind of things.
Mm-hmm. Okay. since you have this kind of indie making mind, entrepreneurial mind, you immediately start thinking, what are the possibilities? Let me check the docs. Let me see what I can do. And then you think, okay, we don't have forms. I miss the forms. Let's bring the forms. A lot of people are using it in Airtable. There's this other product that is kind of hacky, but it works. So probably there's something there. What are the next steps? Do you like start building? Do you start trying to get clients first? What are the next steps there?
Then I just spent like 5 days building it. Literally, I think it was just 5 days. I built like a first version of it, um, and it
How was
works,
it?
but
How was the first version?
so it's really bad, but it works. It just supports like all the basic types of fields. You can only make a field like hidden or required, but like it's an MVP. It works. Like you can create a form, receive submissions in Notion, and that's all.
Mhm. How
Uh,
was the
you could,
design? Did you put effort into the design? Was it good looking? Was it like professional, or is it just like very,
it was very
only
simple.
HTML?
No, it was. I'm using Tailwind, and I think with I
Mm,
believe with Tailwind, it's not too hard to build like okayish design because there are so many components available for free on the internet. So I was
right.
mostly, doing some patchwork between all the things I could find
Mm,
online. So it wasn't nice, but it was, okayish, like usable. It didn't look too bad. I
okay.
hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, I built it, and then I just shared it on Reddit, Facebook groups, Twitter, and I started to get the few users, like first few users like this.
Hmm. So you with the first version, you got users. Were they
Mhm.
paying already?
No, everything was free.
Okay. So this kind of validated. Like, did you immediately start speaking with your users, trying to get feedback?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah. I
okay.
was speaking with so many people. Like I created a Facebook groups where I was, discussing with people using it. I was even sending Facebook DMs to people,
So you
mails.
use so much Facebook. It's so interesting. Everyone would say that Facebook is dead,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but
I
for
know, I
you, it's
know.
crucial.
I don't know. Like I use it a lot. I think it's dead except for the groups part, which is the main
Yeah,
reason I use it.
yeah,
I do
yeah,
use Messenger a bit with my friends and family. Now I tend to use WhatsApp more.
yeah.
But in France, Facebook was huge, like, at least the Messenger part. But now I just use it for groups or Messenger already.
And there's a lot of Notion people because Notion has so many. Like, there's Discord and there's so
Yeah,
many like forums around Notion, but people still use Facebook.
yeah, there are Facebook groups around Notion that have, I don't know now, but probably like quite few with more than 50K
Yeah,
users,
yeah.
and they're
Wow.
super active. But it's really fun because I think the demographics between communities on Facebook or Reddit, like they're different. In Reddit you're gonna have probably more techie guys,
Yeah, living in their
and
mom's
then
basement
yeah,
and
yeah,
like
yeah,
complaining
like
about everything. You are
yeah, yeah,
fun.
that kind of people, I guess. And then when you go to Facebook groups, you have like more senior people, like people in their 50s trying to
Yeah,
use
yeah.
new cool product, and then it's really like different demographics. So I think it's
Hmm.
super interesting to try to advertise in different platforms.
So, but how do you advertise on Facebook groups? Like, you go to a Notion Facebook group and you just like spam it. You say, "Hey, I'm creating forms for Notion." Uh,
Basically, yeah. I just said, like, yeah, I created this tool. It's free. You can make forms. I'd love to get your feedback, and that's pretty
yeah.
much it. It was a nice video showing how it works very briefly, and
Okay.
that's it.
So that's enough to kick things off. That's enough to start having your first users. It's enough to kind of validate the idea, to start speaking with them. And as you just mentioned, that's crucial. Like, you need to start immediately sharing and collecting feedback. But this is not a long-term marketing strategy, right? And I've been feeling that as well. Like, I need a way to keep having people coming to my website without me always going and pasting on Facebook groups and Notion forms and everything. Not Notion forms, Notion Discord channels. So, what was your? Did you think of that? Like, what is going to be my future marketing strategy?
I didn't really, like I was aware of this, but I was kind of focusing, trying to make the product better. I was receiving so much feedback, so many features, ideas. So I spent a lot of time iterating on the product and not that much working on, marketing and advertising.
Mm-hmm.
I did hire a freelancer, to produce some videos showing how to use the product, that kind of thing. So I was doing a bit of that, but not that much.
Mm-hmm.
I did create few landing pages, but and they do work, but I didn't do too much to be honest. I think
Mm-hmm.
the main thing that helped me is that uh, for a form builder is a viral product by design. It's
Mm-hmm.
like you definitely have product led growth because you create a form, and then customers create forms, and then they share the forms, and then people see it's a Notion form, and then
Mm-hmm.
you get more backlinks and word of mouth kicking, SEO.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
that's
think
something that I read in your blog post that got me really curious, which is like the backlinks part. So how does that work? So why are you doing backlinks? Where are these backlinks coming from? They are coming from Notion. They are coming from their website,
pretty much anywhere. So let's say I'm a user of Notion Forms. I
right?
have my personal website. I create a contact form with Notion Forms, and then I embed this form on my website,
Mm-hmm.
and that basically creates a backlink from my website to Notion Forms.
And
So
how
to
do you embed?
Google,
It's like JavaScript snippet or
it's
something
like
like this.
iframe. It's just an iframe.
Ah,
So
okay,
basically, you
got
embed
it.
literally the page of the form, but then when like the form, when it detects that it's an iframe, it changes a bit its design to make it look nice. But
Yeah,
essentially, you're just embedding the page.
right. And the iframe still is considered to come from the host website. It's not coming from Notion.
Uh, so the website is Notion Forms. So there's nothing related to Notion at that point. It's just me in the backend that does the Notion parts, but
Yeah,
it's just Notion Forms.
right.
But like the thing I'm not sure of is, do iframes count as
Exactly. That's my
backlinks,
question. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
or is it the fact that there is a link to the website? It says powered by Notion Forms below the form. Is it this that counts as a backlink, or the actual iframe?
Yeah,
I'm not sure. Like
yeah.
I that would be interesting, and there are probably answers on the internet. I
Yeah.
found people saying yes, some people saying no, but I'm not sure, to be honest.
But it worked for you.
It works.
So how long did it take for Google to pick it up and show it in the first results?
I think I I came up in the first result pretty fast. At least when you type, create a form with Notion, or
Yeah.
Notion form, something like this, because obviously the name is, is
Yeah.
what it is.
Everyone, if there's a big demand for that. So if there was no other solution, yeah,
Yeah,
Google needs
yeah.
to show it.
There was one. So there was Chili Pepper
Yeah.
and probably one other, maybe like other phone builders trying to advertise the fact that they had a Notion integrations, but there wasn't much competition. So
Hmm.
I quickly became the first
Yeah.
result on the search result
Yeah.
page.
Tell me about your first dollar. Like how mature was the product? How did you like this? When did you decide to like, okay, let's start asking for money?
So as I started to get more users, I thought, okay, like I want to try monetizing this, but I wasn't sure how to. I didn't want to have a usage based pricing like Typeform, where you pay per submission or that kind of
Hmm.
thing, because I don't like the fact that you're using a form, and then if it gets popular you have to pay. I didn't like this feeling.
Okay.
So I knew I wanted to build like a very simple pricing. You pay per month, and then you have access unlimited to whatever. So
Hmm.
I decided it was going to be like a feature access based pricing.
Hmm.
So when I decided that, I basically every feature I was adding to the product based on feature requests, suggestions, or just some ideas I had, I was deciding if it was going to be part of the paid
Right.
plan or not. And then I was adding a pro tag next to it, saying, okay, like this feature is free for now, but ultimately it will become paid. You can use it for now, but then at some point you'll have to pay to keep using it.
Yeah.
And then once I thought I have enough features now to justify the price, uh, I just went with it. I set up a subscription plan, and then I added a paywall to the features,
Hmm.
basically.
Hmm. And how many users did you have back then? Do you remember?
Honestly, I don't know. Probably, I actually don't know. Like maybe 1 or 2,000, 3,000, maybe,
3,000 already. Okay.
maybe few thousands, basically.
That's
Yeah,
important because that's already a lot of users. It's already like you can really see that there's something that you're doing something well. Like that, like with
yeah.
your experience growing other businesses, did you know like okay, I have something here, like 2,000 users, 3,000 users. That's a lot, right?
Yeah, I mean that's the number of registered people. Some of
Yeah.
them they registered without managing to use the product. Some of them they
Mm.
just used it once. So I don't know the number of active users back then, but yeah, I was already happy to have
Yeah.
that many
Yeah.
users, at least even registered.
Yeah, of course.
uh, I definitely felt that, maybe like I wasn't confident that I would make money with it, but I knew like it was enough for me to
Yeah,
try.
yeah, yeah. And did you immediately make money once you launched it?
So I plan everything. I sent some emails to users saying, okay, on this date it's going to become, I'm launching it's the
Paid
end of
version.
beta.
Hmm.
I'm launching the paid features, and then I do it. And then I was like so stressed. I was really for maybe 4 hours nothing happened, and I was okay. Like I'm just like why this price? Why did I thought people would pay for it?
Yeah. How
And then
much?
one
How
guy.
much money did you ask for?
So I was asking for $15 per month for
15.
the
Okay.
yeah 15. But I sent all of the existing users. I think it was 40% discounts code, something like this. So it was $9 per month for them.
Yeah.
Um, and then one guy he took a yearly subscription after a few hours, and I
Yeah.
was like so happy. I was like it was really like the best moment of the
Yeah.
project. That was
Yeah.
so exciting. And the guy was actually he was French as well, and I was talking a lot with him on the product. He was sending me a lot of feedback and stuff,
Yeah.
and he was super nice. So that was really kind of him to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then from then on, how was it? Like, did you start getting like people acquiring the Pro? How did the MRR evolve from then on?
I don't exactly remember all the metrics. I can look for it, but basically it took me the first month maybe was like 200 or 300 MRR, then maybe uh, 700-800 by the end of second month, and then I passed like 1K, something like this. It was slow but
Yeah.
gradual. Yeah, after 3 months I was at like 996 MRR, and then the months after I added like almost 700 to it. So it was going like this.
Yeah. And then it basically just kept growing until reaching the 160K per
Mm,
year. Or
yeah, exactly.
did you notice that there was something that like gave a spike of like people registering or something?
No, like I'll send you. I can show you like the curve. It's really steady. It's just
Yeah.
straight. It just goes
Yeah.
like this, and then yeah, it's not
That's
even exponential, or maybe it is, but very slightly. It's
yeah.
just going like this.
That's amazing. And because you also don't have a lot of churn, I guess. So it's just like growing up, going up.
At first I had no churn at all, and I was so pleased, and then churn happened and appeared. While churn appeared,
Yeah.
and it was like 10% churn. So I was like kind of scared because ten
Yeah.
percent is quite a lot. But then now every month it gets down a bit. So now I'm around like 5-6%,
Hmm.
and it's still going down. So that's really good.
What is your job now? I mean, it's a form, right? So I guess there's not a lot of new features you can add since you're already working on it so long. And
That's
you,
that's what that's what I saw. But first, yeah, there are always new features you can add, and like people, they have so many use cases for you that there will always be new features to add.
yeah,
But you're right. Like most of the obvious features, they're pretty much done. I have like logic, I have file uploads, I have customization.
yeah,
So even notifications, Zapier integration. Once you have like all of these, then like people are mostly satisfied with the
yeah.
product. Um,
So
so now
now,
I
so do you spend how much time do you spend per day on it?
now I spend less than 1 hour a day on it.
It's amazing. It's a
So
dream.
I spend maybe like 30 minutes per day doing like customer support. Uh, and that's pretty much it. But it's also because like I've hired like a full-time software engineer that
Mm.
helps me. So every time there is something that needs to be done, I just create a code like a task in Notion, and then he does it, and I
But
just do the code reviews
a
basically.
full time. So you
Yeah,
have someone working full time for you already.
yeah,
So that's quite a big chunk of money, right? Like it's a
yeah.
developer salary. Like what is the reasoning behind it? Like it's such an automatic product. Um, was it hard for you to think, okay, let's hire someone?
So basically, I have some friends in London that have the startups, and they uh, explained to me that they were working with an agency for that was like providing them with developers, and I had like the opportunity to try for a month. So I thought, like, okay, I might, just try it. Um, and I was already at the time where I was not enjoying as much as before when I was adding features. Like creating a product is very exciting, but
Yeah,
there are some
yeah.
features that are just boring to add. Straight, like there are no challenges. You know how to do them,
Hmm.
but it just takes time. And it's same for bugs. Sometimes investigating bugs is like how to do it, but it just takes time and it's not
Yeah,
fun.
exactly.
So I wanted to try to focus on other things. And I wanted to reinvest and try to do more things. So I thought, let's just try, and then it worked really well, and it's going really well. So I'm super glad I did
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. It's really like the next step. You create your project, and now it's time for it to become a company, right?
Yeah.
What is the future for you? Like, what do you see Notion Farm going? Like, do you want to build other Notion integrations? Do you want to work in no codes? Do you have ideas?
I did try to launch another Notion related product that still exists. It didn't get any traction. Truth is, I didn't market it enough and like properly.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel a bit ashamed, that I'm not working on it. But it's just that I didn't get a good feeling for it.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm working on like different projects, which is like why I also have like a full-time software engineer, because it allows me to try new projects without
Right.
having to do too much coding. Right, I just
Yeah.
set the plan for it, and then I can focus on other things.
Mm-hmm.
So right now I'm about to launch another form builder, which is
Okay.
without Notion this time. It's really like some kind of a type form or Google form alternative that's going to be entirely free, at least for a bit, and I'm going to open source it, so anyone can just fork it, add new
Cool.
features, or self-host it, for instance. So
Mm-hmm.
that's something I'm about to launch. I already have like few users trying it, and it so far so
Mm-hmm.
good.
Yeah.
And then I have other projects with my friend
Yeah.
with whom I was living with.
And are they still in no code in the no code project?
So the form builder is definitely
Yeah.
no code. It's just
Yeah.
essentially the same thing as NotionForms, but without the Notion bit.
Yeah.
And the other one is not gonna be a SaaS. It's gonna be a marketplace.
Oh, okay.
I wanna,
Let's go back to the marketplace, chicken and the
yeah,
egg
yeah, yeah,
problem. Yeah.
exactly. So we want to, I'm really into SaaS and indie hacking,
Yeah.
and I really enjoy talking with other indie hackers. So I wanted to do something in that space,
Okay.
and we've had this idea for a bit where we think that I don't know if you're familiar with AppSumo.
Yeah. Yeah.
AppSumo, I think it's cool, and the idea is nice because you can help new people starting the projects
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
get the first few users, go, etc. But we think that there is room for another product, and we think a better product than AppSumo. So that's what we're currently working on.
Wow. Okay. We have to talk about this later because I'm also doing something in that spectrum. But um, one thing that I've interviewed here in the podcast, people that are still like they didn't make it, so they didn't reach ramen, and they're still doing so, and their anxiety obviously it's to get money, right? So that's their biggest worry. Try to get clients, try different things, but sometimes I also interview people like you, people that I consider that they have made it in this indie world. They are making a good amount of money. They can hire people, and I guess their anxieties are different. So I've heard that people sometimes they lose motivation because they think, okay, why bother? I mean, I'm already making a good salary. I could just sell it. I guess you could sell it now for like I don't know, 500, like half a million, maybe, I don't know, something like this. Probably. I mean, since 5x sounds reasonably. Um, so, what are your anxieties at the moment? What keeps you up at night?
First, I think that in general, as for every business, you're always worried that it's going to stop.
Okay,
Like I
you worry
did some
about
projects.
that?
Yeah, I do. Maybe the fact that I'm an extension for another product really doesn't help with that. Maybe sometimes I'm afraid maybe Notion is not gonna like what I'm doing anymore, and then just gonna shut me down, basically. Cut the API access.
Yeah,
I don't think they do that, but that's something that could happen. Or maybe Notion is not gonna be as popular as before, and people will stop using it, and then my
yeah.
product will basically become useless. I don't know. There are many things that could happen, So I do uh, have a fear for that,
Hmm.
which is also one of the main reasons why I want to try to diversify. I want to
Diversify.
try
Yeah,
making revenue from another product that doesn't rely on something else.
yeah. Do you still have the same motivation as you started? Now that you're making a good salary?
I think I still have the same motivation in general. Like
Yeah.
I'm still super excited about entrepreneurship, creating new
Yeah.
products, meeting new people, and providing some value. That's really
Mhm.
something that drives me. But definitely there are some ups and downs for NotionForms. Sometimes
Mhm.
I just can't be bothered, like to think about new things,
Yeah.
or I'm just like, I'm focused on other things. But now I think I'm dealing with that pretty well. I just allow myself to do other things for a bit, to
Mhm.
try new projects, and so far, like, that works for me.
Are you a workaholic? Do you work a lot?
I think it depends. Like there are some periods where I think first of all, like I spend most of my time where I'm not, with friends or family working because I enjoy it. But
Right.
then at the same time,
But
for
that's kind of
instance,
the definition of workaholic, isn't it?
but yeah, I was
Yeah.
saying, but then at the same time, like during the summer, for instance, I was, traveling quite a lot. I was with friends, with family, so I was working probably like less than 3 hours per day, and
Mhm.
that was fine. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I wasn't, like stressed more or that kind of things.
But how
So
many
I'd say it depends. I have periods basically.
in your high periods where you're working really hard? How long per day? Like how many hours per day do you do?
I have no idea. Like usually, I'd say I start working at 9:30, and then I don't know. Like usually, it really depends. Most of the time I kind of stop around 7, but then after dinner, if I have an idea or something, I just pick
Yeah.
up the computer a bit. So
So around
not
like
that
maybe
many. I
10
think
hours, maybe.
something. Yeah, yeah, something like this probably.
Yeah. 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 You've been talking with a lot of other indie makers as well, right? You said like you're doing
Yeah.
meetups and everything. What is the biggest mistake that you see starting indie makers do more frequently?
I'd say it's all about finding, getting some validation and finding the product market fit. I guess.
So they don't do
Um,
it properly.
I feel like people don't do it enough, and
Mm.
not fast enough as well. Um, now I did so many users projects that every time I start a new project, my only worry is how to get some users, and if I don't get any, I just want to move on. That's what happened with the other Notion tool I created, and now I do feel a bit, uh, maybe I moved on too fast, and like I didn't entirely move on, but uh, I think it's great to be able to move on,
Mm.
or to try different things or different approaches. But definitely, to me, it's the most important thing is to get users.
So you think that people they spend too much time building a product without validating, and then they keep insisting and insisting, and they do not move on.
Yeah, there was this running joke about this guy in a cave building a product for 2 years,
Yeah.
and then nothing happens. But the truth is, I think it even though it's a joke now,
Yeah.
but I still see many people doing it, and I don't
Yeah.
think it's a
Yeah.
such a good idea.
You know, Julian, for me, I think that yeah, there's still people doing that, but the big challenge and the one that where I fit in, I would say, is like when you build something that kind of works, something
Mm.
that like kind of has some users. Like for me, I run a community right there, and that's kind of what's making. I also like explore a lot and try different things, but the community is something that like I have a few about like 60 paying a little bit more paying users, and they are like super happy. A lot of them are like, yeah, this is amazing, I love it, but again it's not making enough. Like it takes so much time to get like I reached out for 500 mrr, so it's and I'm doing this for a year, like the same amount of time as you. um so like how do you manage this? How do you know that it's like it's not good enough? Like what does it mean to have users and not have users? Because it's like some people paying, is it enough or not?
I That's a very good question, and I probably don't have an answer for it. But I'd say, like, I don't know everything I don't know everything that you're doing, but I think, like, I like this approach where you do have this community and you try to uh do things around it to grow it. So you have the podcast. I saw recently you launched the design thing. I
Yeah,
think these
very
ideas,
very
like,
just testing that as well. I don't think I'll
yeah, yeah, but
continue, but
I think
yeah,
that's
yeah.
a smart thing to do. Like, why not? Like, it's kind of helps your community. It goes what you already have that's working already, and then it maybe it's gonna bring
Yeah.
more, like, money for you.
But if it
It's
was you,
it's kind of
would
hard.
you skip it? Would you say like, yeah, it's not fast enough for me? let me
But
try
how
another
much
thing.
time, like, does it occupy you full time to
Yeah,
run the community?
completely. Yeah,
Really?
yeah. Because I'm always thinking on new ways. Like maybe just to run, it wouldn't take full time. But like if I want to work on marketing, if I want to work on new ideas, new features for the community, because like I have so many bots running and helping in the community and everything, that like yeah, it takes me full time.
And do you think you could reduce that to a point where basically you stop adding new features, new bot to the community, but you just focus on, providing the value, which is probably, interacting with people, um, doing like the animations and that kind of things, but stop kind of the the you know the
Yeah,
technical developments.
yeah, I could.
Do you think that that could work, or would it ruin the community? Do you think like people stay because you add all of these things, or because of the you know
That's a great question. I think not because of the features, the new features necessarily. I think yeah, they do increase a little bit the engagement and they are cool, but not necessarily because of that. But I do think that um, like new people joining is also important to like keep like you see that there's new people joining and there's also a little bit of churn, not a lot, but like some people also leave, so you need like people coming. Um, so if I feel that if I just do the bare minimum to like manage the community, create some events, etc., like I won't have people joining. And if people are not
Yeah, yeah.
joining, then like it kind of dies. I that's my fear that eventually it will die because I don't have a very good source of marketing for me. I think that's the biggest issue. Like if I was like having people coming, like it happened to you with Google, like people just coming and you can just focus on working on a product or not because you have new people coming every day. But since I don't have that, I think that's might be the biggest issue.
Yeah, but I think you're right. Like you raised some like the most important points. First, you need to retain the people you have
Yeah.
because otherwise you need to fight against churn,
Mhm.
which you seem to be doing pretty well. So maybe you can try to slow down a bit on that. Obviously, don't stop talking. Like just still do whatever you do that works,
Yeah.
but try to invest all of the rest of your time maybe doing some acquisition. So it could be anything, writing maybe blog post on the people that you have on the community, or
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
maybe just on transcribing the podcast you do, just to
Yeah.
get some more content,
Hmm.
to do SEO. Like I don't know, but basically trying to focus on acquisition and some on and maybe as well on some other side projects such as the
Yeah.
design one you did to get some money on the side.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
It's a
Cool.
it's a tricky question. I don't have an answer to it, and I think that's up to you. At some point, you probably need to leave and make some money. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, of
you're the
course.
only
Yeah.
person that knows.
Yeah. No, yeah, I'm always like the reason that's the way I'm asking is, and I don't want it to make too much about me, but it's because I'm always trying to figure out, and that's what the reason why I have these interviews as well. Like I wanted to figure out if there's a formula to be an entrepreneur, a successful entrepreneur, right? And of course, I'm not as naive as the, to pretend that there's really one way. Like, okay, follow these steps and you'll be a successful entrepreneur. No, there's so many variables, right? But I'm trying to understand if there's a that's why I interview people to understand what they did right and try to get different perspectives. And for you, what I can see is no code seems to be a great area. Like, and I've interviewed a lot of people that are making a lot of money because there's so much demand. There's so many people entering in no code that and there's so many things lacking still. Like forms. I mean, that's obvious. Like forms is the basic thing. Everyone needs it, but the fact that Notion doesn't have it yet shows that there's so many potential. So for sure, like finding a place with a lot of demand is crucial. But then I need to understand like yeah, how people structure, like how people test it, when do people quit, and that's what I was kind of trying to figure out. Like when does Julian think it's time to quit and focus on something else?
I don't know. It's really a tricky
Mm-hmm.
question. It's
Yeah,
it's. I think the hardest part is first to start, and then the second hardest is to know when to stop,
yeah,
because
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah,
So you did one of the two, and hopefully I really hope you won't have to do the second one.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I when I asked you like what was the biggest what was the biggest problems that you see in indie makers, you said it's that they don't validate, and I think that's it's a great key point to take. So people need to validate their idea. They should not invest a lot of time building something if they don't have users. So that's something that you do, and we can see. So you said in your blog post that you got lucky. Say I was lucky. I found something that has a huge demand, and one that just met you and does not know all the work behind might think, yeah, he was lucky, he found something. And you can say that for like Peter levels as well, like, he was lucky, he found Norman List, and there was a huge demand. But what we don't see is that how much work it goes in his mind and your mind and any other entrepreneur mind, which is like always thinking about new ideas, always validating new ideas, and trying out many things that do not work. Like your project that you just mentioned, the other Notion project. Maybe if I follow you on Twitter, I would know. But like, if I check your profile, there's nothing saying, "Okay, I tried this and I failed." I only see the things that work. So it seems
That's
that you,
funny.
yeah,
You just give me an idea. I'm gonna create a blog post this week listing all the projects I did that failed, and
yeah.
and trying to estimate how much time I spent on
I
it.
think
That's a
that's
good idea.
crucial. Yeah, I think that's crucial because people, I only see your profile, your online profile, and I think, okay, he just made it. I don't know, he's lucky, or he's, I don't know, it's above average. Uh, but I think that's also the reason of your success, isn't it? Like you tried a lot of things,
Yeah,
and then you know how to identify what works and what doesn't.
yeah. I think I don't know if I know that, but I have a better evaluation skill, which is probably not 100% right at all. But as you said, it's luck, but you're way more likely to be lucky when you do it 10 times than just once.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
that's the only thing.
yeah, definitely, definitely. So for your future, what are you're trying? You already said like you're trying new products. You have NotionForms. You have a team working on it. Do you ever think of selling it?
I had few acquisition offers in the past, and I I almost sold it before it made any money actually, like for 6K, because it was
Ah, yeah,
very
I read it. Yes,
it
so
was maybe
crazy.
like few weeks
What
after
a
I created
mistake
it.
that would have been. 6K. My God.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I had built it for like I forgot the timeline between the offer and the creation of the thing, but
Yeah,
it was really short. And I felt okay, maybe I spent 2 or 3 or even 4 weeks, so that's 6K. Yeah, I mean, why not? But
yeah,
then I felt bad. I felt bad because I was thinking, that guy that I don't know, he trusts my product more than I do. So like, I'm
yeah,
missing something. I'm either that guy's crazy,
yeah,
either I am. So I prefer not to FOMO,
yeah.
and I just didn't
And you
want to
you
sell it
had
afterwards.
everything almost ready, right? Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
the contracts and everything. I mean,
yeah.
that's also, to be honest, for me, a huge business opportunity. People buying these tools for 6K. For me, now that I think about it, that's nothing. Like 6K, what is that? Like, it's for something that has the potential of making 200K in a year.
Yeah,
Imagine, like
but at
in
the
a year.
time it
Like,
wasn't even making money, so there was no way to tell.
so yeah, and now you have some offers. How much do you think you can ask for it? Like, do you think you can ask half a million for, or even more for
I
this?
think a million probably not, but I guess
No,
it
half a
depends.
million, like 500,000.
Half a million, I think. Yeah, I don't know if I would find someone that would buy it at this price, but if you keep a valuation of like 5x,
Yeah,
which can be a bit high maybe for bootstrap business,
that's
then
almost
I
a
guess,
million.
yeah, exactly. Like if I wait a bit and reach 200K, then maybe I could hope for that. But then that's potentially because you need to find someone looking, willing to
Yeah,
put that price for it.
yeah, yeah. As a last question, like, you are in the indie making world, and we are all in this community, which is a community that is a little bit different than the VC world. Like, we try to build things on our own, and I think we are all passionate about it. Where would you like to see this community go in the next 5 to 10 years?
That's a cool question. I I I have no idea, man. I think wh- first I one thing I realized is I wasn't a Twitter user at all before. I
Mm-hmm.
had like never used Twitter, or maybe just with friends in high
Mm-hmm.
school. But I kept hearing that people on Twitter, they're just mean and like basically bad things about Twitter. But then when I discovered the indie hacker community, I thought like all of these people, they were lying all
Yeah,
this time. But
yeah.
then I realized that it depends on what
The
part of
bubble,
Twitter
yeah,
you are, and I really love the indie hacking community because people are they're so nice, they're like so easy to approach and full of amazing advices. Uh, so my hope is definitely for that to stay the same, and then I guess to grow even more.
yeah. Okay. Makes total
I'd love,
sense. Me
if we
too.
had like meetings every week or every like 2 weeks all around the world, and I could just,
Yeah.
travel anywhere and just meet new indie hackers. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
And I think it's getting there slowly.
Yeah. Me too. Me too. That's a wonderful, wonderful vision for the future of the community, I would say. Julia, thank you so much for taking the time. It was really a pleasure speaking with you and learning from your journey.
Same. Thanks a lot, Chego. That was super fun.
And this was my conversation with Julien. Make sure to check the show notes for his Twitter and the blog post we talked about. Besides that, Julien has actually joined the WBE now. He's on our Slack. So for $10 a month, you can join our community. You are not only supporting this podcast, but also supporting your own projects. And yeah, Julien and other experts are also there, and they will for sure help you with any questions you might have. You can also buy the WB merch. We have mugs, t-shirts, everything at store.wannabe-entrepreneur.com. And of course, if you want to chat with me, ask questions, give suggestions, make sure to DM me on Twitter at WBTiago. This was another Wannabe Entrepreneur. See you next time.